I'm an adult. I don't need to report my whereabouts. That's what my fiancée told me the morning after her birthday when I asked where she'd been all night. So I showed her the Instagram stories where she was tagged at a 5-star resort with some guy's arm around her waist, and watched her face go white. I'm Brad, 31, project manager for an infrastructure construction company in Denver. Been doing this about 6 years, mostly highway expansions and site prep. My fiancée Sandra is 27, works as a sales rep for a medical equipment company. We got engaged 7 months ago, been together about 2.5 years total. Weddings in October, we already put deposits down on the venue, caterer, photographer, DJ. We set up a joint account for wedding expenses, and I've been putting in more than she has because my income's higher. Not a big deal, we're building a life together. Lately, though, I've noticed the wedding account balance dropping faster than it should. When I'd ask Sandra about specific charges, she'd get vague. Oh, that was for dress alterations, or I had to put down a deposit on bridesmaid stuff. But she never sent me receipts when I asked, just kept saying she'd get around to it. About 3 weeks ago, she started hanging out a lot more with this coworker named Brianna. Sandra would come home talking about how Brianna knows everyone and gets invited to all these exclusive events. I didn't think much of it. Sandra's always been into the lifestyle thing, following influencers, talking about networking opportunities, that kind of stuff. So Saturday was Sandra's birthday. I'd been planning for weeks. Made a reservation at this steakhouse she loves, got her a nice bracelet, sent flowers to her office Friday. Saturday afternoon she texted, "Running errands with Bri, be ready by 6:30. By 6:45 I was ready to go. 7 o'clock, no word. I texted, "You good?" No response. 7:30 I was calling. Phone rang and rang, but she didn't answer. I texted Brianna, also no response. I texted Sandra's other friends. Everyone was evasive. Oh, she's probably just running late. By 8 p.m. I canceled the dinner reservation. I was trying not to freak out, telling myself maybe her phone died or something came up. But she knew we had plans. She was excited about them. And now complete radio silence. I tried calling Brianna again around 9. This time she picked up and I could hear club music in the background. Before I could even ask where Sandra was, Brianna said she's fine. Stop being so controlling. Then she hung up. When I tried to call back, I was blocked. That's when I know something was really wrong. I was sitting there in my living room, dressed up for dinner that wasn't happening, and my fiancé's friend just called me controlling for wondering where she was on her birthday that we had plans for. I couldn't sleep. Around 2 I started going through Sandra's Instagram following list, looking at stories. Most of it was boring, but then I got to Brianna's story. First slide. Champagne at a high-end resort bar. Next slide. Night view from a balcony, mountains in the background. Then the slide that made my stomach drop, group photo, 5 or 6 people at a table, bottles with sparklers. There was Brianna, 2 other women, and 3 guys in expensive suits. And there was Sandra, tight dress I'd never seen. Some dude's arm around her waist. She was laughing, leaning into him. I screenshotted everything. The timestamps showed 10 p.m., right when I was calling her worried. And Sandra was tagged in the location. Some luxury resort about an hour outside Denver that cost $600+ a night. Sunday morning she came home around 9 a.m., walked in all cheery, still in last night's makeup. I was at the kitchen table with coffee. "Where were you?" That's when she hit me with that line. "I'm an adult. I don't need to report my whereabouts to you, Brad." I took a sip of my coffee. "Fair enough, you're absolutely right." She looked relieved, started heading toward the bedroom. "Before you do that," I pulled up my phone, opened Instagram and slid it across the table. "Want to explain why you're tagged at a resort with some guy's arm around you?" Her face went white. She grabbed the phone, started swiping through the screenshots. "Brad, this isn't. It's not what it looks like." "What does it look like then?" "It was just a group thing. Brianna knew some people and invited me along, friends I've never heard of, at a resort. While you ghosted me on your birthday." She started the whole "you're overreacting" routine. Said the guy in the photo was just friendly and I was reading too much into a casual touch. Said her phone had died, even though when I called her, The phone rang multiple times before going to voicemail. If it was dead, it would have gone straight to voicemail. Said she'd texted me she wasn't going to make dinner. She hadn't. I checked our entire message history. Brad, you're being paranoid. This is exactly why I didn't want to tell you where I was going. I knew you'd turn it into something it wasn't. I'm not turning it into anything. I'm looking at a photo of you at a resort with a stranger's arm around you while I was sitting at home waiting for you on your birthday. It wasn't a stranger, it was Brianna's friend. What's his name? She hesitated. I don't remember, we just met that night. So he is a stranger. You're twisting everything I say. This is exactly the kind of controlling behavior I was afraid of. I didn't argue with her. I just told her I needed some time to think and went for a drive. Drove around for about 2 hours trying to process everything. When I got back, I decided to check something I should have checked earlier. I logged into our joint wedding account. Started going through the recent transactions line by line. Sure enough, tons of small cash withdrawals over the past month. $200 here, $150 there, another $180. But what really caught my eye was a charge from 2 weeks ago, $800 deposit to something called Premier Event Services. I'd never heard of it. It wasn't any of our wedding vendors. I even checked our shared Google Doc where we'd been tracking all our wedding expenses just to be sure. Premier Event Services wasn't on there. And then there was a transfer from Friday, the day before her birthday. $450 moved from our wedding account to Sandra's personal Venmo with a memo that just said weekend. I sat there staring at the screen for probably 20 minutes, added up all the weird charges and withdrawals. It came to almost $3,000 over the past 2 months. Money that was supposed to be going toward our future together, just disappearing with no explanation. I'm sitting here Sunday night and I've made a decision. I'm not going to fight with her about what happened. I'm not going to listen to more lies. Tomorrow morning I'm going to start locking down everything, finances, wedding plans, all of it. Because whatever this is, I'm not letting her use our wedding money to fund it anymore. Update 1. Sorry for the delay, work's been insane, had 2 sites running behind. Finally got breathing room. Monday morning I didn't say anything to Sandra. She left for work around 8. The second her car pulled out I got to work. Called our wedding venue and put a 48-hour hold on everything. They froze all bookings. Called the caterer and photographer, same story. Spent the next hour calculating what I'd contributed to our joint account versus Sandra. I'd covered 65%. Pulled that amount out, transferred it to my savings. Changed all passwords on the account and wedding vendor portals. Canceled the credit card where Sandra was an authorized user. By noon, I'd frozen everything. She couldn't touch the wedding money, modify bookings, or use my card. Nothing. I was in damage control mode, trying to protect what was left of our savings before more could disappear. Sandra got home around 6 p.m. Took her 20 minutes to figure out something was wrong, tried to check the venue portal and couldn't log in. Then tried the card at the grocery store and it declined. I heard her slam the front door when she came back in. Brad, what the hell? Did you cancel my card? I was at the kitchen table with my laptop. Yeah. Why would you do that? Because I don't know where my money's going anymore. That set her off. Started yelling about how I was controlling, embarrassing her, punishing her for having friends. Went on about how I was treating her like a child, how she couldn't believe I didn't trust her. I just kept working on my laptop, didn't engage. That made her even more furious. Are you even listening to me? I'm listening. You're upset that I locked down our joint account after you ghosted me on your birthday and showed up in Instagram photos at a luxury resort. That's not fair. What's not fair is me putting money into an account for our future and watching it disappear while you won't tell me where it's going. She tried a different angle, got all soft. Baby, if you're upset about Saturday, we can talk, but this is too far. Partners don't lie about where they are. I didn't lie, things got away from me. I should have called, I'm sorry, but you're acting like I committed a crime. We went in circles for an hour. Every specific question, the money, the resort, why her phone was off, she had some excuse. Finally, I said I was tired and went to bed. She slept in the guest room. Tuesday morning, I woke up to texts from Brianna. 3 paragraphs about how I was being emotionally abusive, and if I kept this up, she'd make sure people knew what kind of person I was. Last message: be careful, nobody likes a controlling boyfriend. I didn't respond, just screenshot everything. That afternoon at work, I remembered our iPad is logged into Sandra's email. I'd never gone through it before, but I needed to know what was happening. I found an email from about 3 weeks ago. Subject: Weekend Host Program, Confirmation and Details. It was from a company called VIP Social Events. The email talked about an opportunity to be a host for our exclusive client experiences, with luxury accommodations provided and discretionary compensation. There was a line about maintaining professionalism and understanding the importance of privacy. This wasn't one email. There were 6 or 7 over 2 months, different weekends, different resorts, vague language about hosting duties and creating an upscale atmosphere for our clients. I felt sick. This wasn't just one night. This was a pattern. When I got home that night, Sandra was already there. She tried to hug me, said she wanted to work through this. Asked if I'd unfreeze the account so she could get back to planning our wedding. I just looked at her. I need you to send me receipts for every withdrawal you've made from the wedding account. Brad, come on, just the receipts, that's all I'm asking. She got defensive again, said I was being unreasonable, that she didn't keep every single receipt, that I needed to trust her. I didn't push it, just said okay and went to take a shower. But while I was in there, my phone started blowing up. She'd sent me a text: fine, you want to be like this. I need you to Venmo me $500 by tomorrow morning, then I'll show you everything. I typed back: for what? The resort charged my card for damages. I need to pay it off. What damages? It doesn't matter. Are you going to help me or not? I stared at that message for a long time. Then I sent back 3 words: send the receipt first. She didn't respond. An hour later, she left the apartment. I heard her car pull out around 11 p.m. She didn't come back that night. But when I checked my phone Wednesday morning, there was a DM waiting on Instagram from someone I didn't know. The message said, "Hey man, saw the drama in Brianna's comments. Need to talk to you about Sandra. She's not who you think she is." I haven't responded to that message. I'll update you guys when I decide what to do with it. Update 2. So a lot happened this week. That DM from the stranger Wednesday morning, I checked out his profile first. Guy named Joshua, mid-30s, decent followers, posts from various cities. Looked legit, not a bot. I messaged back, "What do you mean?" He responded fast. "I was at the resort that weekend. Met Sandra and her friend. She told me she was single. Didn't know she was engaged until I saw the story blow up." Joshua sent a voice note. Basic story: he and business partners rented part of the resort for the weekend. Investment guys do this a few times a year. They hire a service that provides social hosts, attractive women who come to parties, make conversation, keep the atmosphere upscale. Not strippers, not escorts, just paid company. The service: VIP Social Events. Same company from the emails. Sandra and Brianna showed up Friday evening as hosts. The company covers travel and accommodations, plus they get $500 to $800 each depending on the night. All they do is show up, look good, be friendly, and maintain discretion. He sent 3 photos. One showed the reservation confirmation, listed T. Morrison as a host. Another was a check-in timestamp from Friday at 6 p.m. Third was a photo from their table, clearly showing Sandra in that dress, sitting next to Joshua. "Look man," his message said, "I'm not trying to cause problems. But when she told me she was single and then I saw the engagement stuff online, I felt you should know. These girls present themselves as available. That's part of the deal." I asked if anything physical happened. He said no, not with him, but that's not the point of the service. I thanked Joshua and went through our joint account with a fine-tooth comb. Every time Sandra did one of these hosting gigs, same pattern. Cash withdrawal the week before, $150 to $300. Charges to Sephora, Nordstrom. Venmo transfer to Brianna with vague memos like weekend. Then a deposit to Sandra's personal account from VSC. She'd been using our wedding money to fund these events, buying outfits, covering costs with Brianna, then pocketing the $500, $800 payment. I tracked it all in a spreadsheet. Over 2.5 months, she'd pulled at least $2,800 from our wedding account, and that $800 charged to Premier Event Services. That's the management fee to join VIP social events host roster. She paid $800 of our wedding money to get on a list where she could party with rich guys who thought she was single. Wednesday evening, Sandra came home. She'd been staying at Brianna's. I was sitting at the kitchen table with my laptop open, all the statements printed out in front of me. "We need to talk," I said. She saw the papers and her face changed, walked over slowly like she was approaching something dangerous. "What is that?" "A timeline. Every time you've pulled money from our account. Every time it lines up with one of your girls' weekends." I slid the printouts across the table. "Want to explain?" She didn't even look at them, just stared at me. "You're going through my transactions now. Our transactions from our joint account, the one we set up together for our wedding." "This is insane, Brad. You're acting like I talked to Joshua." She stopped mid-sentence, just completely froze, the color drained from her face. "He told me about VIP social events, about the hosting program, about how you and Brianna are on their roster." I pulled up the email thread on my laptop, turned it to face her. "I found these on the iPad. You've been doing this for months." For a solid 30 seconds, she just stared at the screen. Then she sat down. "It's not what you think." "What do I think it is?" "You think you're acting like I was cheating. I wasn't. It's a job. We show up, we hang out, we get paid, that's it." "A job you never mentioned to me. That you used our wedding money to get started with." "I was going to tell you." "When?" "After the wedding, when I found out you'd been doing this our entire engagement." She started crying. "Said she knew I'd react like this, so she didn't say anything. Said it was just for extra money because planning the wedding was expensive. Said Brianna convinced her it was easy money and not a big deal." I asked her straight up, "Did you sleep with any of these guys?" "No, Brad, I swear it's just about being there, making them feel like they have a cool entourage, that's it." "But you told them you were single. Why is that?" She didn't answer that, just kept crying. I took a breath. "How much have you made doing this?" "I don't know, maybe $3,000 total." "And how much of our wedding money did you spend to do it?" Again, no answer. I closed my laptop. "I need you to leave tonight." That set off tears and pleading. She said she'd stop, never do it again, made a mistake, we could work through this. I just kept saying no. She finally agreed, but then called her mom. Within an hour, her mom and sister showed up. They came in hot, yelling about how I was kicking her out over nothing. I stayed calm. "She doesn't have a right to be here. Her name's not on the lease." "Mine is." Her sister got in my face. "So you're just abandoning her?" "I'm asking her to give me space while I figure out if we're still getting married." Her mom cried too, said I was being cruel, that families work through things. Her sister threatened to call the cops. I said, "Go ahead. Tell them she doesn't live here, isn't on the lease, and I'm asking her to leave peacefully. See what they say." Nobody called. But they argued for 30 minutes before Sandra finally packed and left. Now it's been 3 days. She's staying with her family. Been texting me constantly. Apologies, explanations, promises to change. Her mom called me twice trying to convince me to forgive her mistake. Her sister sent me a long message about how I'm throwing away a good woman over insecurity. This morning I got an email from our wedding venue. Standard check-in message, asking if we wanted to schedule a final walkthrough. But in the email thread, I noticed something weird. There was a message from 2 weeks ago where someone requested to change the primary contact email on the account. The request came from Sandra's email. She tried to change the venue account so all communication would go to her instead of both of us. The venue coordinator hadn't processed it yet because they needed both of us to approve the change in person. But she tried. Maybe she figured she'd keep doing these hosting gigs and I wouldn't notice the money missing if she controlled the communications. Or maybe she was planning something worse, and I just don't know what yet. Final update. Been about 3 weeks since my last update. Lot of you DMED asking what happened, so here's the final chapter. After I discovered Sandra tried to change the venue contact, I started documenting everything, screenshots of emails, bank statements, Instagram posts Joshua sent, Brianna's threatening messages. Put it in a folder with a backup on a thumb drive. Called our venue Monday morning and canceled. They gave us back 70% of the deposit because we were outside the 6-week window. Could have been worse. Went through the rest of vendors. Photographer gave a full refund. Caterer kept their deposit but waived cancellation fee. DJ was cool. All in all, we lost maybe $3,500 total, which sucked, but considering what I might have lost if I'd married her, I'm calling it a win. I sent Sandra one email. Weddings canceled. All vendors notified. I've divided remaining wedding account funds based on contributions. Your portion will be transferred. Please arrange to get your remaining items this week. All future communication through email only. She called me 14 times that day. Didn't answer. Her mom called. Her sister called. Brianna tried from a new number. Ignored all of them. About a week later, I got a message from Joshua. Things had blown up in the VIP social events group. Once word got around that one of their hosts had a fiancé who found out, several regular clients dropped out of upcoming events. They don't want drama. Brianna tried to throw Sandra under the bus, saying she never should have accepted someone who was in a relationship, and that Sandra had lied about her status. But VIP social events still dropped both of them. Sandra lost her side hustle and her friend in one shot. Turns out Brianna was only friends with her because of the money. Few weeks in, Sandra's family finally started to come around. Her dad called me one evening, said he'd gotten the full story from Sandra and he was sorry for not believing me initially. Said he'd seen the bank statements I'd sent them and he couldn't believe his daughter had done something like that. We talked for about an hour. He's actually a really good guy, worked construction his whole life, super straightforward. I think he's just as shocked as I was. He actually told me he respected how I handled things and wished his daughter had been different. Her mom called too, but that conversation was different. She mostly just cried and said she didn't know where they went wrong with Sandra. Kept apologizing for how she and Sandra's sister had acted when they came to the apartment. I told her she didn't go wrong anywhere. Sandra made her own choices as an adult. But I think she'll feel guilty about it for a long time. I found out through mutual friends that Sandra's been having a rough time. She told people it was just a misunderstanding at first, but enough details leaked out that most people know the real story. She lost the respect of a lot of our social circle. A few people still talk to her, but it's not the same. Word gets around in groups like ours. The craziest part, about 2 weeks ago, I got a notification from our old wedding venue. They'd sent an email to both of us asking about the final walkthrough, but their system still had Sandra CC'd on it. She replied, didn't realize I was still on the thread, asking if it was too late to reinstate the booking, and if they'd let her change the groom's name on the contract. I forwarded that email to my lawyer buddy just to have it on record. He laughed and said I dodged a massive bullet. I'm starting to think he's right. I sold the engagement ring. Took a hit on it since you never get back what you paid, but I got enough to fund a solo trip to Montana I've been planning. Gonna spend a week hiking and camping, clear my head. The money Sandra pulled from our wedding account. I calculated what came from my contributions and put it into an emergency fund. That $3,000 she made from hosting, she can keep it. As for moving forward, I'm not jumping into anything new. Some people have asked if I'm dating again. Not yet. Maybe in a few months. Right now I'm focused on work, hanging with friends, and not thinking about wedding planning for a very long time. Sandra was right about one thing. She's an adult. Adults don't have to report their whereabouts, but adults also don't get to escape consequences when the truth comes out. She wanted to live a double life. And now she's dealing with what happens when both lives find out about each other. I'm just glad I found out before I married her. Imagine if I discovered all this 2 years into a marriage, maybe with a house or kids involved. Would have been a hell of a lot messier. That's it. That's the whole story. Thanks to everyone who reached out with support. Moving on with my life now. She can move on with hers.